Hello and welcome back to Everlasting Summer. I won't be as scary this way, she smiled. I couldn't say anything else. I just grasped her hand tightly. What am I even doing here? Looking for Shurik at night in the forest? Here? How did I ever agree to this? There's not a single normal person who would. But the world around me can't really be called normal. I tried to persuade myself that I was finding answers, that it couldn't really get any worse. To be honest, nothing bad had actually happened to me during the last 4 days at this camp. And besides, I had no special reason to think that something would happen. Maybe that's just the way the world works. People just can't live without adventures. Shall we go? Yes, I guess. But we didn't make a move. Slavia seemed to be waiting for me to take the first step, but I had had just enough courage to stand still without running away. The moon showed up from behind the clouds again and lit up the old camp building. Now it looked less like a tomb, but all the dead pictures in my imagination grew real. Visions of ghosts became more focused. The wailing of the wind and the grass rustling got clearer, and noises of unknown origin could be heard from afar. Seems like it was a great place before. I looked at Slavia carefully. Maybe she was scared, but she was trying to hide it. And knowing that, I felt a little better, a little calmer. Maybe. Let's go? Sure. I stepped carefully, watching every step, trying not to touch the old fence, the crooked merry-go-round, or the rusty slide. In some places, the grass was waist-high, so any wrong move could have led to broken legs or hands. And at last we came to the entrance, and I pointed my flashlight inside. The darkness that looked back at me was much scarier than the view outside. But at least the moon shone brightly here. I gathered up all my courage, and I crossed the threshold. The inside of the old camp building looked like a kindergarten from my childhood. The layout of the interior, even the rotten furniture, was similar. Well, I shivered, picking out more and more remains of the joy of children long gone with a flashlight. Creepy. Slavia was not only holding my hand now, but embracing it, firmly pressing herself against me. But I didn't sense any fear in her voice. I wonder whether it was a good idea to come here in the middle of the night. Perhaps not. Shall we go back then? No. What about Shurik? She said, in genuine astonishment. Well, Shurik... Why did he even come here in the first place? Maybe he isn't even here. Where else could he be? I don't know. Eaten by wolves, maybe? Don't say that. Slavia frowned and stepped away from me. I was already so used to being with her that I was slightly upset by her approach. Well, okay. Let's assume there are no wolves. No, you never can be too sure. Well, okay, since we're here, let's search. We searched all the rooms of the old camp. Playrooms, bedrooms, canteen, kitchens and toilets. I even looked in the closet, which was choked with empty, decayed cardboard boxes. Look! When I returned to the place we started from, Slavia picked up something from the floor and gave it to me. It was an old doll, with torn, frayed threads, missing an eye and a hand, faded from damp. So what? I pity it. What, this doll? Yes. Why would you pity it? Someone played with her and then just threw her away and forgot about her. And she's been here alone all these years. In the rain, in the cold. I really couldn't tell if Slavia was serious or not. But I don't think it's the time to talk about such things. On the other hand, what would be the proper time for that? Slavia looked really upset. Yes, maybe. I took the doll and examined it. I remember how I once found a stuffed lion the same way that Slavia had found this doll. I took him home, washed him, and was careful with him as with other toys, even though he was long past his retirement age. You should give it to Ulyana. Slavia laughed, and suddenly the wind howled down the passage, singing some kind of eerie tune. A light flashed and I instinctively jumped, caught my leg on something and tumbled to the floor. Are you alright? Slavia ran over me and helped me get up. Yes, more or less. I tripped on a trap door. It's strange that we hadn't noticed it already. The dirt around the door was cleared and it seemed like it was opened not too long ago. We're not going down there, are we? I asked, trying to preempt Slavia's suggestion. She only gave me a sad glance. Oh, come on, are we playing at Diggers now? I moaned, while lifting the hatch cover with quite an effort. My common sense was crying out, telling me that I shouldn't do this, but contrarily, my logic suggested that if this world wanted to kill me, I'd already be dead. But it's only because of Slavia. Otherwise, there is no way I would have gone down there. 2 meters of a rusty ladder led down to a dirty concrete floor, and I leaned over the edge and illuminated a narrow passage, going somewhere into the darkness. And what's there? I think I heard about a bomb shelter under the old camp. Bomb shelter? Well, I suppose that's pretty logical given the time when it was built. Why would Shurik need to go there? I don't know. Of course, it wasn't necessarily him who opened the hatch. It's obvious it had been opened by someone just recently, but who would be more likely to get the idea of going down there than a mad inventor? If we discard theories of supernatural involvement, there can be no other humans in this forest. Well, at least that's what I thought. Alright, I'll go first. If everything's fine, then you follow me. What might not be fine? Slavia looked scared, but seemed to be asking more out of politeness. I don't know. Rats, for example? Are you afraid of rats? Guess I shouldn't have asked. I sighed deeply and began to descend. We advanced slowly, holding hands. In the pitch darkness, the flashlight wasn't helping much. Only occasionally it would illuminate pieces of old newspapers and scrap metal lying here and there. And suddenly it began to feel as if the walls and ceiling, covered in endless twisting cords, were pressing in on me, as if the passage was getting narrower. I spread my arms, trying to measure the passage's width. Are we still far off? Asked Slavia sadly. Far from where? I've no clue. Alright. Just then, a massive metal door appeared for me, as if from nowhere. Oh! Cried Slavia softly. I tried the handle, and it seemed to yield a bit. You ready? Not sure. Though speaking frankly, what could prepare you in such a situation? The wheel turned a few times, squeaking horribly, and then finally reached its limit and went quiet. I pulled on the door with all my weight, and it reluctantly opened. There was some sort of chamber behind it, which turned out to be the bomb shelter itself. When we entered, the lights suddenly went on, making me flinch. Though it was likely that there was an independent power source here, at the time when those catacombs had been dug, people had been building things to last. The bomb shelter looked, well, exactly like I had imagined. It had everything needed to sustain prolonged human existence during a war. The lockers contained chemical protection suits, gas masks, dry rations, water cans, and at the far wall I noticed a lot of various tools, pressure meters, radiation meters, radios, some others. But this place looked like nobody had ever used it, which wasn't actually that surprising. Furthermore, it looked like nobody had even entered it since it was built. Slavia gave me a questioning look. Well, Shurik's definitely not here. But was he? No idea. But if he was, then he couldn't just vanish. I looked around the room again, and noticed another door in the wall to my left. Maybe there? The door, however, wouldn't open. What if he barred it from the other side? But why? I don't know. Still, it was quite possible, assuming that he was there at all. By the look of things, Shurik was hiding. Maybe running from someone? Such thoughts made me uneasy, and I felt like putting myself on the other side of the door as fast as I could. And I pushed hard, but the door only gave a dull creak. Here, maybe this could work. Slavia handed me a crowbar. I fumbled with it, considering how I could best tackle the door. Let's give it a try. Using all my strength, I managed to pull the door clean off its hinges, and it crashed to the floor. While I was recovering from my effort, Slavia pointed the flashlight down the newly opened passage. There's a corridor here, just the same as the previous one. Oh jeez, this place is a real maze. Shall we go? Hold on. I sat down on a bunk, and took a dusty pillowcase off a pillow, and wiped my forehead. Let me catch my breath. Slavia sat down next to me, and began to study the details of the floor tile patterns. Better turn off the flashlight for now. Oh, yes. She blushed slightly and clicked the switch off. This is just plain creepy. I caught myself thinking that I've not been treating these events as real for the last half an hour. As if they'd not been happening to me, as if they were just a dream. Just like back then, 4 days ago, in the first minutes after I had found myself here. Yes, lately I might have started getting used to this world, this reality, as if it had become reality for me. And that feeling deep in my soul that I had to find an exit was not so acute anymore. But now again, in the blink of an eye, the forest, the old camp, the bomb shelter, there was nothing supernatural about any of it, but neither was it anything normal, like anything from my previous life. Yes? Agreed Slavia. Don't you find any of this strange? What exactly? Well, the fact that we're sitting here, you and me, in the night. Wouldn't it be normal in such a situation to instead wait till morning, call the police? Yes, I guess so, she replied thoughtfully. Of course, I almost volunteered, and I shouldn't have. Well, the almost isn't quite right, but still. But you wanted to help. If Shurik is here, we should find him as soon as possible. At this rate, we'll be the ones they're looking for. How did he manage to get lost here? Slavia looked frustrated. Alright. I didn't mean anything like that. Maybe he's not here. Maybe he actually went back to the camp a long time ago. Yes, maybe. But we should still check, right? Of course. Slavia got up and held out her hand to me, and it seemed as if she wasn't afraid as me. Though I was already tired of being scared myself, and now only wanted all of this to end as soon as possible. The corridor was identical to the other one which we had come through to get to the bomb shelter. I was walking at a slow pace, carefully watching the floor, checking from time to time to see whether the passage was getting any narrower. Look! Slavia held my hand tighter and pointed to a breach in the middle of the tunnel. It was wide enough for a man to climb through, or to fall down. Maybe? I pointed the light down, but there seemed to be nothing but ground at the bottom. I think we should check this out. The hole was shallow enough for us to climb out afterwards, so at the first sight there was nothing to be afraid of. I climbed down carefully and helped Slavia, and we found ourselves in some kind of mine. The walls and ceiling were reinforced by wooden beams, and rails stretched out to the distance. Here and there the earth pressing down against this fragile design broke through the boards, which were rotting with age, and made the whole structure look a bit unreliable. Where do you think we are? Dunno, some kind of mine? What could they have mined here? Coal, perhaps? Perhaps. We started to advance slowly. Stones would be treacherously shifted under our feet now and then, and the beam coming from the flashlight trembled and jumped from one wall to the other, often casting shapeless shadows, which disappeared as soon as the light was pointed at them. It's scarier here than above. Yeah, I guess so. The further we went, the stronger my confidence became that Shurik had absolutely nothing to do with this place. Couldn't have been taken by a chupacabra, could he? Alright, we can't rule out that possibility either. At last, we came to a fork in the tunnel. Where do we go now? I don't know. I tried to inject at least some semblance of calm into my voice, but really I had no clue. None at all. Not where to go, not where Shurik was, not even why we were here. What if we get lost? Yeah, right. Let's leave a mark to show that we've already been here. I picked up a rather large stone and carefully carved a cross on one of the logs supporting the ceiling. There! Now we'll know if we've already passed this spot. Good. Slavia smiled. So which way? Okay then. Left or right? No obvious means of determining which is the correct path. No difficult moral decision to make. It's a simple, to all intents and purposes, it's a simple coin flip. Okay then. Easiest way to do this, with an actual coin flip. So, tails we will go... okay, heads we go left, tails we go right. And we are going heads, so I said that was left, didn't I? It seems there's another fork in the road. Oh, for the love of... Should we coin flip this again? Heads again. So we're going left again. We came to some kind of miners' camp. Picks and helmets everywhere. A rusty wagon stood in the corner. All of the items were so old. They dated from the beginning of the 20th century rather than the middle. So this really is a mine. Which means we could wander around here for ages without finding a way out. But I sensed the exit was somewhere nearby, so we went further. And it seems that there's another fork in the road. Okay, we've taken two lefts at this point. So by my count, we're virtually... left, so we're going back the way we came, so right this time. Another fork in the road. Okay, let's go right again. And another fork in the road. Okay, left. Then right. Oh god, we've got to be getting hideously lost by now. Oh, come on. Seriously? Is this deliberately designed to make sure you're as lost as you can possibly be? Turn after turn, the flashlight lit up a wooden door. Well, that's something. To tell the truth, I was so tired of wandering around this mine that I'd completely stopped thinking about Shurik. All I wanted now was to find the exit as soon as possible. What's behind it? We're about to find out. Past the door there was a small chamber, which looked either like a utility room of a boiler house or like one of the bomb shelter's rooms. The floor was littered with empty bottles and the walls were painted with a mess of graffiti, which meant that other people had more than once visited this place before us. Although from the look of things, they had done so rather long ago. I was running the flashlight's beam around the room, trying to check every part of it, when suddenly I found Shurik curled up in a corner. "Shurik!" cried Slavia. However, she looked as if she was not. However, it looked as if he was not paying any attention to us. "Here you are. We've been looking for you all night. Why in the world did you come here?" Shurik looked up at me with hazy, unseeing eyes. "And who are you?" "What do you mean, who are you? Get up already. Let's go." "I'm not going anywhere with you." Shurik turned away and stared into the darkness again. "You want to trick me? You'll make me go in circles through the tunnels, won't you? Yes, I will. I know what you are." Shurik's voice turned into an infernal whisper. "Cut this nonsense out already." I wanted to approach him, pull him upright, but Slavia stopped me. "He's not quite himself." "Well, I'm not quite myself either. You wander here all night, you sure won't be quite yourself." She shook her head reproachfully, and slowly went up to Shurik, while carefully staying in the light. "It's all right. It's me, Slavia." "For real?" Shurik looked at her, and immediately started sobbing quietly. "Of course. Who else could it be? And that Semyon with me. We came to find you. Everything's fine now." "Are you really not them?" "Certainly not. We're us." He tried to get up, but he was apparently disorientated and would have fallen, not for Slavia, caught him by the arm. "Easy there. Careful." When they came up to me and when they came up to ask me, I said, "All right, time to get out of here." "We can't go back." "Back where? Into the mine?" "Yes." Shurik was speaking calmly, but at the same time his voice was trembling slightly. "And why is that?" It's where they are." "Who are they?"
"The voices."
"What voices?" I was starting to lose my patience. This place and this situation clearly weren't normal, but if there had been anything paranormal here, then by the laws of horror cinema it should have long since showed its face by now. "Calm down, Shurik. Just tell us everything in detail." He took a few deep breaths and started.
"I needed some spare parts for the robot, and I heard that there was a bomb shelter in the old camp. There's usually lots of different equipment in bomb shelters. It's old, of course, but it's worth disassembling. You can always find coils and resistors. So I went early in the morning. I thought I could finish quickly, be back by breakfast. And I got everything I needed." He took some light bulbs and wires from his pocket and showed them to us. "But then, up there in the bomb shelter, I heard some sounds from behind the door, like moans or wailing. At first I got scared, and then I thought that there could be a person in danger. So I went there, and there was this mine and a damn maze, and I got completely lost. And the voices telling me something, sometimes shouting, sometimes whispering, and I can never make out the words." He was ready to burst into tears, but Slavia patted him gently on the head, and Shurik continued. "Anyway, I found this room, and at least here you can't hear them." "So you decided to sit and wait for rescue like in a B film?" I asked sarcastically. Slavia shot an angry glance at me. "Well, in any case, it's time to get out of here if there are no objections." "Come on, I know a shortcut." "A shortcut?" "Yeah, you know, I walked all over this place."
"All right." Shurik didn't lie. Indeed, after wandering for about 2 minutes into the mine, we found ourselves under a grate, through which we could see the sky. "Then why didn't you get yourself out?"
"Try it, you'll see."
I pulled myself up, pulled on the grate a few times. It's true, you can't just break it like that. I'm gonna have to use something heavy. I looked down at Slavia and Shurik. "Try the flashlight, maybe?" The flashlight. I fumbled with it. It was not one of those cheap Chinese fakes from the 90s, which I've had to use a lot in our summer cottage. No, it was a real Soviet durable metal flashlight.
Not a hammer, of course, but hey, if I tried hard enough. I swung it and started smashing at the grate, aiming for the spots where it was attached to the wall. And soon I got lucky as I heard cracking sounds and a few bolts fell down. A minute later, I was lying on the grass under the monument and breathing the fresh night air with delight. Although after the mine, I suppose any air would have seemed fresh. "Well then, I'll be going, thank you." Shurik looked a bit lost, and I eyed him questioningly for a bit, but ended up saying nothing and just waved my hand goodbye. After all, I had neither the strength nor the will to talk with him. And what would I have said to him? Scolding him's of no use, and the same probably goes for trying to learn anything. What a night. Slavia was sitting next to me, and looking dreamily up at the moon. Right so. If someone had told me a week ago that I'd go to a pioneer club, and would even have to crawl through bomb shelters. But it was fun. Yeah, in a way. There was indeed something amusing about all this. But there was also something strange. During the last few hours, absolutely anything could have happened to me. But in the end, nothing at all had happened. In a couple of years, I'd probably remember this as just some funny incident from childhood. Well, if I lived that long. What do you think? Did he really hear something there? I don't know. It's possible, of course, but most likely it was just his imagination. In such a situation, anyone could start imagining things. That was not only the most logical explanation, but, well, it was also the most probable one. Nothing had happened to me in Slavia. Well, I for one think he should go see a psychiatrist. I guess he should, laughed Slavia. All right, time to go to bed. Bye. I felt as if I needed to say something to Slavia. I just wasn't sure that I wanted to, but I could feel the need. Thank you. For what? She gave me a surprised look. Well, I wouldn't have managed without you. It was nothing. Slavia blushed. I was in her debt. Again. I wondered how I could repay her, at least partially, for all that she'd done for me. I stared up at the night sky, slowly falling asleep. All of today's adventures had left me so tired that I had no more strength left. You know, under different circumstances I would surely have confessed my love to you, I said, losing complete touch with reality. Thoughts usually work much faster than common sense. Slavia wasn't there anymore. Probably for the best. At least she didn't hear. Though it's strange. Wonder why she left without saying goodbye. Oh, whatever. I'll sleep on it and see you in the morning. I was so tired that I barely made it to the camp leader's cabin. There was a light in the window. That means she's waiting for me. And that in turn means that I'm in for a lecture again. And it'll be just as pointless as ever. I had no desire to discuss whether I was right or wrong. And the deck chair standing nearby was beckoning to me like a friend, and suggesting I should sleep in it. Oh, forget about the mine, Shurik, the camp leader. Here you are, I said blankly, still looking at my cherished deck chair. Semyon! Yeah. We found Shurik. Slavia will give you the details tomorrow, and now I'd really like to sleep. She looked at me confusedly for a moment, then replied, Oh, well, fine. I didn't know if mentioning Slavia played its role, but half a minute later I was in my bed. The events of the day kept turning over for a short while in my head, but it soon started to ache, and it was as if my consciousness switched to safe mode and started to reboot. So we're up to what, day 5? Yep, day 5. Yeah, this place is decidedly on the creepy side, isn't it? We ran with the last of our strength, like those who run for their precious lives, like a doomed person knowing there's no hope to save his life, but will still fight to the inevitable against his own fate. I barely managed to close the heavy metal door behind me. I have no idea how deep this bomb shelter is, or if it can withstand a nuclear blast, but we have no other place to hide. She gripped my hand tight. Don't be afraid. Bits of the ceiling were falling and the walls were shaking, and I was prepared for the worst. But death is the worst kind of thing that you can't even prepare for. But suddenly, complete silence fell, and it rang even louder than the explosions. Maybe it's time to say goodbye. She was whimpering, and I wanted to comfort her somehow, but I realized that there was nothing I could do. Yes. You know, A horrible bang almost split my eardrums, and it seemed that I was under a piece of collapsed ceiling. But I don't feel any pain. All I want is not to let her go. slightly sinister dream. I woke in a cold sweat, short of breath and gasping for air, and it took me some time to come to my senses. It was a dream. It was just a dream. My questioning mind, however, refused to believe it. But who was that girl with me there? I didn't want to let go of her hand so desperately, but I couldn't recall her at all. The clocks were showing a few minutes past 10, and I slowly came to my senses as reality started to stake out its claim on my mind, on my stomach foully ground. Alright, war is war. Lunch should still be served in due time. It turned out that Olga wasn't there, and she must have decided not to wake me up. Well, thanks go to our camp leader for that. After yesterday's adventures, I had to have a rest. Last night remained a blurry memory which I didn't really want to think about, and it's now more important to find something to eat and to wash myself. Yeah, exactly. A pioneer must always be clean and tidy. Even though I agreed with this principle, even if I wasn't a pioneer, and let's face it, I'm not. On my way to the washstand, I met Electronique. He started to wave his hands and ran up to me. Good morning! Thank you for finding Shurik. Without him, I don't even... It's nothing. I was a bit embarrassed. No, really, don't be so shy. The country must be proud of its heroes. What about Shurik? How's he look this morning? Is he alright? After yesterday's craziness, I thought such a question was completely valid. Yes, absolutely. The only thing is he can't remember anything. Can't he? I wasn't that surprised at all. Well, he says he went to the abandoned camp yesterday and then woke up in bed in the morning. I mean, he remembers nothing between those two events. I see. Oh, all right then. You missed breakfast, right? Come to the club, we'll feed you. I have something special. Electronique smiled in a conspiratorial way. Yeah, thanks. I'll come, probably. I had to wash myself first anyway. We'll be waiting. He waved at me and left to carry his own business. There was nobody near the washstands. The water turned out to be surprisingly warm today. Warmed up already, I guess. Having my face washed, I realised it wouldn't be that easy to wash the rest of my body here. Maybe I should go to the showers. Oh, but since there's nobody here... I turned the tap in such a way so the water streamed parallel to the ground and started to take off my clothes. And what if somebody sees me? I'll rinse and dry myself quickly and put on my clothes. The water, which had seemed warm on my hands and face, felt bone-chillingly cold on my body. And the whole process of washing took no longer than 10 seconds as I started to wipe myself quickly afterwards. But I didn't manage to finish anyway. There were voices coming from the direction of the footpath. The only solution came to me in a split second. I grabbed my clothes and I dashed into the bushes. A moment later, Alyssa and Uliana appeared near the washstands. You could have done this by yourself. Why did you bring me here? It's a big deal for you. Oh, fine, let me. I peered at them and noticed they were both covered in red paint. What a surprise. I wonder how they managed that. Alicia opened a valve and started to rub Uliana's back. Take off your bra. What if somebody sees us? What? Is there anything to see? She grinned. Oh, just be quick. It was true there wasn't much to look at, but even so I stared at the girls narrowly. Pity they were standing there with their backs to me. Oi! This is the situation where you deserve a smack and get told to piss off, because stop spying on people! A minute later, Alicia managed to wash off all the paint. I'm done. Thanks. You're welcome. Alicia replied lazily. Listen, let me try on yours. She pointed to Alicia's bra. Oh, it won't fit you for sure. Well, I'd like to try anyway. But out here? There's nobody here, right? Uliana looked my way and smiled archly. I was sure she couldn't see me in these bushes, but... Oh, enough with this nonsense. Uliana wasn't listening to her anymore and grabbed Alicia's bra with a dexterous move instead. Now I have to confess I had something to look at. I watched the two girls chase one another around the washstands with bated breath. Alicia covered her breasts with her hand so, well, I could barely see anything at all. And I leaned forward and stumbled over a stone and fell out of the bushes. Alicia and Uliana stood frozen, staring at me. I tried to cover my nudity with my guilty face. The tableau lasted for a few seconds, and then Alicia took her shirt and somehow put it on in an instant. You? You? Her face had gone from red to purple. It looked like she would explode into a nuclear blast at any second. The only thing I wanted was to disintegrate into atoms and get as far away from the epicenter as possible. I think that's a pretty decent moment to end this video, don't you? So, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next part.